Hello there, welcome to my review of the Rockford Files Season 1, Episode 19, Charlie Harris at Large. Written by Ezekiel Marco and Roy Huggins and directed by Russ Mabry. The episode begins with police at an active crime scene. A woman's body lay on the floor of a mansion, and from what the coroner says, she suffered a pretty horrific death.
Multiple blows to the cervical area. The hardest blow was the last. A direct hit on the occipital bone.
The woman was Pauline Harris, and the chief suspect is her husband, Charlie Harris. Charlie Harris just happens to be a friend of Jim Rockford, and a few days later calls him for help, as he claims to be innocent. Jim meets him at a house he's hiding out at, but he's none too pleased to be involved in this messy situation.
You're in a hell of a spot, Charlie.
This is a very subdued opening to the episode. Everyone is taking everything very seriously, and there's a somber tone to it that sets us up to not be sure if Charlie is guilty or not. There's also this one odd shot from the rafters that I can only imagine involved a cameraman climbing up and balancing precariously to get. Charlie tells his version of events and says his only chance of an alibi is a woman he was having an affair with who has disappeared, and he wants Jim to find her. Jim refuses and tells Charlie to call Beth Davenport and turn himself in. The next morning, Rockford gets a visit from one of the sergeants investigating the murder. Jim doesn't tell them what he knows, but does reveal he was Charlie's cellmate and best man. His next step is to meet with Beth and get information from the coroner that Pauline was dead 4 hours before Charlie got home. As it's been a little while since we last saw Beth, they do a nice little job of re-establishing their relationship, with some gentle banter between the two of them and Jim taking liberties.
You owe me $1.20.
Thought we were going Dutch.
We were, but you just ate my hot dog.
That evening, he gets another call from Charlie. He's found the mystery woman Cassandra, whose real name is Linda Banister, and who is married to rich businessman Alfred Banister, and wants Jim to speak to her. Jim still wants nothing to do with the case, but Charlie makes him an offer he can't refuse.
I'll pay you.
Jim starts by following Linda as she performs this odd routine of walking on the beach where she met Charlie, a beach where Jim has set up a camera and is pretending to be a professional photographer. Working on a hunch, he flirts with her and she is very receptive, suggesting that this is a well-worn routine of hers. He offers to take her to lunch at his place, except his place is actually the house Charlie's hiding out at.
Reunions are fun, aren't they?
She claims she didn't go to the police because not only will her husband find out about the affair, but as Charlie was late for their tryst, he could have killed his wife. They debate the finer points of Charlie's situation, but Linda is a cold woman, and Charlie is relying on Jim to thaw her.
If I could have killed her, so could you. Who knows how many minutes ahead of me you arrived?
Now, I have an old friend. Well, she'll say that I was with her. It's your word against mine.
And mine.
This scene is brilliantly performed and gives the episode a real film noir feel that elevates the well-worn premise of a married woman being someone's only alibi. The way Rockford plays this femme fatale is perfect as he delivers biting comebacks to all of her posturing. As part of his plan to prove Charlie's innocence, he contacts Dennis and puts him on standby, before getting an unexpected visit from some associates of Mr. Banister.
Mr. Alfred Banister wants you to join him for lunch. That's the address of his club. 1 o'clock?
Banister treats Rockford to a meal at his club, before asking him why Linda was at his trailer that morning. Banister says he knows all about all of his wife's affairs and is content for the situation to continue, but if Jim insists on meddling, Banister will have him murdered, which comes off as a bit of a shock.
They will put a bullet in your head and they'll be gone within the hour.
And does enough for Jim to tell Banister that he is off the case. He then goes to see Charlie, but finds Sergeant Garvey waiting for him, who doesn't buy his excuse and arrests him. After shaking the charge, we get a brief scene with Rocky before Linda shows up with a gun. What's really interesting about this episode is how in the dark we are throughout. With just 10 minutes left, we don't know who killed Pauline, what the Banisters are up to, or how Rockford is going to clean up this whole mess.
Where are we going?
Let's go, Mr. Rockford.
It's confusing, but in a good way, where not knowing what's going on makes you want to continue watching. The answer doesn't come too soon either, as Linda gives him the money that he asked for to help Charlie make a run for the border. But shortly after the exchange, he's set upon by two goons, as a third makes a run for it, and we get a car chase as Jim pursues the mystery driver, who turns out to be Mr. Banister. Rockford had figured it was either Banister or his wife that killed Pauline, after she approached one of them about the affair, and this recent set of events proved to him that it was Mr. Banister.
It's not worth killing for.
I had to do it.
The episode ends with Charlie revealing that the inheritance he was expecting to pay Rockford with may take a while, leaving Jim, once again, out of pocket. This episode has some really good elements to it. I like the initial serious tone of the murder investigation, and Diana Muldaur is fantastic as Linda, always keeping you guessing about what her motives are. And the plot works really well too, but it does have a few issues. Dennis, Beth and Rocky are really just there for scenery, and don't contribute anything to the story. And while it's nice to see them, I think it might have been better to devote more time to explaining how Pauline knew who Charlie was having an affair with, when Charlie himself had no idea. It's logical that since she was rich, she would have moved in the same social circles as the Banisters, so it makes some sense, but this could also have been fleshed out a little more. Also, the running gag about Jim not being able to get any sleep doesn't really work and doesn't really add anything to the story. Other than that, it's an enjoyable episode, and for me, it's a 4 out of 5. Thank you. Goodbye.